Hello and welcome to the Reds Report, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us on the podcast, Barnsley FC's longest running podcast. Proud to be part of the TalkSport Fans Network. If you are watching us on YouTube, yes, he is back after a 1 week suspension, which he enjoyed the Spanish sunshine. Ian is back with us. Ian, how are you doing?
Buenas noches, Carlo. How the devil are you?
Yeah, so far so good. Steve is joining us. He had a bit of a family emergency, but he'll be joining in the next couple of minutes. Ian, I know you missed a couple of matches because of that suspension. You know, the accumulation of your yellow cards over this podcast season added up, and you opted to go for a bit of a Spanish break. We're not going to talk any more about that heavy defeat against Lincoln, although if you look at what Lincoln have done since, they're on a bit of a run. So I suppose they had to make amends, didn't they? The team, the squad, the club had to make amends. And on paper, a Tuesday night at Carlisle, bottom of the table, bottom of the form table, we thought that might reinstall some, vigor, some faith. We've won, and we have to take that away at this time of season. 3 points, 2-3 though. What do you make of that? Because I think did we expect more, or do we say at this stage of the season a win's a win?
I tweeted just before that game to say that all this pre-match talk that the players and the coach had come out with saying that we've got to put the wrongs of Lincoln right. It was time to do the talking on the pitch. And I suppose you can't argue with the fact that we got 3 points, which was a potential banana skin. But I can't help but think that game, that performance summed up our season completely for me. That for the first half an hour, we were well off it. And to go a goal behind against a team who were bottom of every form table, I just thought, here we go. Yeah. And then we played great for the next 50 minutes and we played some good stuff and we were cruising. And I really thought it was going to be 4 or 5-1 in the end. I thought we were going to get a couple of late chances and bury these. And then we let them back in again. And although with 6 minutes of injury time or whatever it was, they never really threatened to get a 3-3, but we almost threw 2 points away. And for me, that summed up our season, the way we've been so inconsistent that we can play some good stuff. And then other times we can be well off it. And we did all of that in one game against Carlisle. I'm just glad that we came away with the 3 points because it was absolutely vital that we did bounce back after that Lincoln defeat.
Yeah, and I think the bounce back was important, especially given the fact that obviously during the Lincoln match, Kane got so many of the yellow, so he was suspended for both the Carlisle and Cheltenham. So obviously Kane not playing away at Lincoln. Funny that the 2 players that have probably got the most negative feedback over this season so far, from a lot of fans, rightful or not, I mean, it's just this is what you see on social media. Williams and Russell, and they both score. Now Williams' goal, especially, is his goal of the season contender for me, and well taken. Russell's maybe different.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel, although it was a victory, I just thought in those sort of matches you really miss Herbie Kane because his passing, his footballing brain, pedigree, whatever you want to call it. I thought if like for like, you couldn't get 2 opposite players, could you? Between Herbie Kane and John Russell. But in fairness, especially second half, Russell started playing a little bit better, started coming forward a bit, and I was less worried, let's say. Still a big miss though, isn't he, Kane? We've talked about him a lot during the season, but knowing that we were going to, 2 matches.
He's a funny one, isn't he, Kane? Like I say, he comes in for a lot of stick, but then we don't have a player. I mean, we're not seeing enough of Grant. We don't have a player that can come in and really challenge him for that shirt. Russell got his goal, but and I know he doesn't play regularly enough, but I can't see how he was a championship player in that Huddersfield team and did really well in his last season there, because I just don't see it. I saw some people praise him and thought he had a great game. I don't think he had a great game. For the size of him and the stature, and we were playing the worst team in the 3rd division of English football who are well off it. Yeah. He didn't boss that game at all. No. And I don't understand, and we did it a little bit yesterday. And I don't know whether it's because Kane's not played, but we've gone long. We've gone really long ball in these last couple of games, but are not like last season. You would get Kitchen potentially do that crossfield ball that he could put on a sixpence. It's Earl and De Givenet almost lumping it aimlessly up and hoping something will happen. And we went a bit longer in these last two games since Kane's not played. Now, whether that is because Kane's a more of a player that gets it down and tries to play it on the floor, I don't know. But yeah, Russell's not. He's been a bit of a disappointment for me, considering the stock that he came with. From playing at that higher level, he struggled for me. None more so than yesterday as well.
Yeah, and I suppose Russell will never replace Herbie Kane, but he is, especially in that role, nothing ever seems to spark. Like Herbie Kane can set us off with that pass, ball at his feet, driving forward.
Yeah, Russell. I mean, really, for the size of him, he should be bossing that midfield. He should be breaking everything up. He could be a box-to-box midfielder. He's that big and physical. He should be putting himself about. But we've said time and again, he turns like a ship. The game can go and whiz past him. But he's the only option we've got unless you put Grant. Like I say, we don't know what we're going to get with Grant, but he's always going to walk in that team, isn't he? And I think Collins was going to always play him against two sides at the bottom who were probably going to go physical. He's always going to put a big man in there, isn't he? And Russell certainly fits that bill. But as much as we can sometimes slate Kane, I think we do miss him. We haven't got a replacement for him.
No. So that was the Carlisle match. Steve has joined us. Steve, evening. We've just been talking about the Carlisle win, and 3 points always great. I think a lot of us expected more from the team that's bottom of the table, but it was 3 points. And then yesterday, of course, Cheltenham on paper again, a team that you think, if we're bouncing back after that Lincoln defeat, we've got 3 points at Carlisle. We need another 3, especially given the fact that the 4 teams above us all played each other, and it was an ideal opportunity either to keep up with the pack or to close the distance. It's 0-0. How do you even summarize the match like that? Because it wasn't for the lack of chances, was it, Steve? Especially first half.
It was an odd game to watch, I've got to be honest. I thought, again, some of the players were a little bit under par. But I'm not laying all the blame at the players, whereas some people have on Twitter. I've got to lay some blame, I think, at Collins. For me, it was very what he normally does, substitution for substitution, same player for same player. There were no change. It was as though I'm playing 3-5-2 and I'll keep playing 3-5-2 until we score or until somebody does something exciting. There never seems to be a plan B. And I know we've spoke about plan Bs before when Barnsley's involved. We've been doing it for years. And I think that's what was lacking yesterday. We just could not change. We couldn't adapt to the way Cheltenham were of at moon with a point yesterday. Absolutely of at moon. We had trouble breaking them down. They broke away a couple of times. But we just didn't change anything. It was just like for like. When he brought Williams on, I thought he'd put Williams on right side. But he didn't. He put him in middle. But then again, I didn't think McCart had a particularly good game. It was just a funny game yesterday. Everything were there for us to take. And yet again, I just don't think we stepped up to play. I really don't.
If we'd have still been playing now, it'd still been 0-0, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I think that's the thing. I think some credit we have to give to their goalkeeper, who I thought was, did really well. I just found it all a bit rigid on our part. I just said to Ian before we recorded, Steve, it just feels like, Cole is playing on this side and McAtee's playing on that side. You never see him swapping either. McAtee who's got the pace to try and maybe, everything seems to be very rigid. Like everything is planned to the final moment, and not only are substitutions like for like. If Adams, if Phillips is playing on the right hand side, you never say to the left hand side, let's swap or let me go to the middle, to try and poke and try different things. The way they set out is the way they play. And I can't help but think when I went home yesterday, Ian, that it felt like a loss for which we got a point. I mean, is that bad? I mean, Jacqueline Key put on Facebook or on Twitter, people were booing. She says booing the players don't help. Can you understand the frustration, Ian, though, from those at Oakwell?
Yeah,
because it's a bit stop-start, stutter, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's not a 0-0 where we batter an opposition and the opposition keeper has a worldie and you just go, look, we did everything and it just didn't happen. It was a slog. We started quite brightly and I messaged you guys and I said, if we don't get 3 goals here today, then there's something not right, because they looked a bit shaky at the back. I thought we put them under pressure. We had them a bit rattled and I thought we were going to, it was a game that you needed that early goal to open them up. And the longer it went in, the more they dug in. But like you say, with the added thing of the fixtures that the top 4 were all playing each other, it put more precedent on the fact that this was a very winnable home game and a chance to really put the others above you under pressure. And we fluffed our lines massively. Poor finishing. Just like I say, it got no cohesion at all. The game were drifting in the second half, and
it were like watching 11 men who's not played together before.
Yeah. But there's been several games. You said it like I think last week's podcast when you said it's probably some of the worst football you've seen in years. And I said to Carlo before, I think the football in parts we can play really well, and then in the next we can look bloody awful in the same game like we did at Carlisle. And yesterday was a case in point that I'm looking at who's in the playoffs and who potentially could get in the playoffs. I'm not confident at all of promotion the way we've played in these last few games, because for everything you've said about, Carlos said about like for like substitutions and it being so rigid and like you say, Steve, there's something. There's just it for that squad. And I know it's not as good a squad as last season, but there's just something, and I'm just not confident at all.
Well, you look at that squad, and I know I think we touched on it a few weeks ago, but you look at that squad that played yesterday, and you put them in Championship this season if you want. I mean, we all took piss out of Sheffield Wednesday for not winning first X amount of games, but I can't see more than 1 or 2 or possibly 3 players out of our squad that is good enough for Championship. Yeah. Now, that to me, that frightens me to death. It really does, because I don't want to go up and be getting battered every week and be laughing stock. It's bad enough as it is now.
Yeah,
but
no, you're right. I mean, you want promotion, but you fear because it'd have to be one hell of a summer, and they haven't got the deep enough pockets to do it. They haven't got the deep enough pockets to do that. But I don't know. It kind of reared up again that there's a lot of things not right with this team with that performance. That they, like I say, there was nobody prepared to kind of try and really win that game. And the longer you went on, the more you could just see it drifting as a 0-0.
Yeah. And it's strange, isn't it? Because since Pines has been out, like McCart starts one week and then it's Williams again in the middle, and then McCart is back again. And and I know when a player is out, I get. You would have thought, or is it just me? Whether you like McCart or not, I think he's a better option than having Williams in the back 3. That's just me. And it might be down to Football Manager or watching games. I am not a manager. I don't proclaim to be, but I'd rather have McCart in that back 3 than Williams, and that's just me. Williams on the right wing, fantastically well. I look at the table as it stands. So Derby and Portsmouth are going up. Peterborough play. Bolton play Oxford, and we would have Peterborough. Peterborough with the strikers that they've got and their ability to change games, that would frighten me. And I'd have more hope for the away match, given our away form, than I would do for any home match. Lincoln is making a dash. They've scored, 16 goals in 3 games since thrashing us. They're only 2 points behind Oxford. Stevenage are on the same level point. So there are teams now that are coming into form, whereas we now seem to be stuttering a little bit, which is probably opposite to what we had And last year, in a way, it's a little bit like Sheffield Wednesday, wasn't it, last year? They were always up there, and then suddenly they lost against us, and they went on a bit of a hit-and-miss run. The only, maybe not a saving grace, is, the leaders, Portsmouth, still have to play Derby, Bolton, Peterborough and Barnsley. They've still got to play. So, do you hope in one way, Steve, that they win all those matches and just run away with it, and we can close the gap on second? Or, because I was talking to two different journalists yesterday, and one says you want Portsmouth to win everything, run away with it because it closes the gap on number 2. Or do you say, well, no, actually not. We want to...
Well, the thing with that is, I suppose you do want Portsmouth, because there's not a cat in hell's chance we're going to go up as champions anyway. But as we're playing at the minute, I'll be honest, I just don't think we've got a cat in hell's chance of getting that second spot anyway, whether Portsmouth win all their games or what. Because we've still, like you said, we've still got Portsmouth to play. We've got other teams to play that we would look at and say we should be getting 3 points after it. But we should have got 3 points against Cheltenham. We should have got 3 points against Lincoln. The way we are playing at the minute and the way other teams are coming up, I know there's that bit of a gap. We're going to have to be really, really careful that we don't end up shooting ourselves in foot and dropping out. But either way, I'll be honest, and call me cynical or whatever, from what I'm watching at minute, we're not good enough to go up. I'm sorry, but we are not.
No, I completely agree. I
want to know what you're doing in my front room, Ian.
Well,
I've had that piano tuned. I hope you're going to knock us a tune out.
Oh, I get a tune out.
Rather than what you've been doing last week, where you've been away, knocking whatever out, I expect, old lad. saw them drinks by the pool. Fantastic time, no doubt.
That's absolutely.
If you looked at the playoffs, because you have to know that there's 8 or 9 games left. On paper, and here we go again on paper. Out of the last 7, 5 are away. We've only lost one.
Hallelujah.
We've only lost one away. So you look though, don't you? It's worrying, isn't it? Because most of these teams, most, not all of them, are sort of like they've got nothing really. They're not going to go down. They're not going to go up, which sometimes I think makes it even dangerous because they have no risk to take. You've got Cambridge, Burton, Charlton, Stevenage is the catch-up game. Then you've got Reading. Then we play Pompey, Blackpool, and Northampton. Northampton obviously is the last one. On paper, and on paper only, not looking at form, but just on paper, one of the easier runs in compared to our promotion rivals. I think the worry, as you're both saying, is when you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. And I think Barnsley at home have proven that we can't rely on our home.
We've said for ages, haven't we, that we've always been good on the both teams to score coup, and apart from seeing yesterday, first clean sheet in however long. But we give teams chances, and I know we've been high scorers this season, but we've had to be. And you can't give, like, if you're going to give Carlisle 2, then you're going to give Pompey 4, aren't you? Let's face it. That first 30 minutes against Carlisle, if that had been Portsmouth, would have been 3 down in half an hour. So currently, as it stands, I'm fearful of whether Blackpool sneak in, whether we have to play Peterborough over 2 games, Bolton or Derby over 2 games. Lincoln, yeah, because historically we don't do well against Lincoln. No. I just don't have that confidence. What I'm seeing is not instilling confidence in me. And I know we can have a great atmosphere in if we had like the second leg at Oakwell, but I just fear our home form isn't great either. And people say, "Oh, look where we are on the table," but it's how we're playing. They're not instilling any confidence.
But we've had this all season, haven't we? How many times have we said anybody who's not a Barnsley fan looks at that table and thinks, "Oh, what a cracking season you've had"?
Yeah,
if they'd actually been sat at Oakwell watching it, they'd know why we're as, I'll not say as negative as we are, but it's
realistic.
It's just not. Yeah, I think realistic is the word. I still think there's a question mark over Collins. His stock seems to go up and then drop again and up and drop. I still question him. I read somebody put a comment on Twitter yesterday evening saying that he got the tactics absolutely spot on yesterday. Well, if he got tactics absolutely spot on, I don't think it would have been 0-0.
No.
So I know everybody's got their own opinions, and I've said it a million times. If you don't like what I say, don't listen. Not interested. But I just have a question mark over Collins now as to whether he is good enough to take us up and to keep us up. Because at the minute, there's more negatives than there is positives, really.
I think the only positive from yesterday is in a game where we dropped the captain, who's been an ever-present, mainly at the back. We didn't concede a goal. That's the only thing. We didn't concede. So it shows to me that those three. But right, it's a break because next week Pompey is being called off. Now, neither Russell or Cole have been called up for, is it Jamaica? So what should or could the team be doing? What should they be doing now? What should we be concentrating on the pitch that you think, I don't know, whether that's extra training or whatever it is, what should they be doing? Because
they should be going downtown Saturday night, getting absolutely rat-arsed and having a curry and actually getting to know each other, because the way that they're playing at the minute, it's as though it's 11 or 20, 15 blokes who've never actually spent any time together. That's what they need to be doing.
I think on that point, certainly the strikers, we've only seen flashes of a few of them. Cosgrove's improved slightly his last couple of games. McAtee, in a flash, can be outstanding, but then other side again, whoever he partners, he's never on the same wavelength.
No.
And like say a good night, having a few jars and a curry might sort that out. But they do. We know what the midfield's going to be. They've played together for long enough. The back three is pretty settled. The keeper's normally injury permitting. He's pretty safe. Them strikers need to start. We also need some service to them. Let's have it right.
That's the other thing,
need to start clicking. I was saying off air, Steve, how long have we gone long balls in these last couple of games? But it's not with giving the strikers a chance. No. It did a couple of times like with Cosgrove, but not yesterday. It was just a nameless ball. And then you're looking around and seeing Phillips put the thumbs up as if to say, "All right, yeah." So it was obviously the game plan, but obviously that pass didn't come off. And I'm thinking that pass was like 10 yards over your head.
But we haven't got players for that. We've said this about Cosgrove, big lad or not. Yeah, he wins odd header. He doesn't hold ball up.
No.
And if you don't hold ball up, you're not letting anybody else come through to lay it off. But when he does knock it on, Cole or McAtee, whoever's playing up front, are a million mile away from him, either on left or on right. They don't play together. You play McAtee and Cole together, and then we decide we're going to play, like you say, balls 8 foot in air. We know Cole's not a very good header at ball. He proved that yesterday.
Yeah.
So why do we insist on playing that long ball over at top? It's not our game. It never has been our game.
No.
It's weird though, isn't it, that as fans, this is what you hear on the terraces. This is what people put on social media. And again, I know we're not football managers. I always have to wonder why we keep insisting. Devante Cole most time won't even jump up for the header. And I think what he's waiting on is if he gets headed that he can go and second balls again. I thought yesterday we were second to the party most of the time.
Yeah.
It's either a very balanced view of now I'm going to persevere because it is going to go right, or is it stubbornness, or is it don't we have a plan B because we don't have the players to have a plan B? I mean,
I saw something else. Again, Twitter's a wonderful thing.
Right.
Somebody put on the definition of insanity, which is I can't remember it word for word, but it's continuing doing the same thing time after time after time, hoping you're going to get a different result.
Yeah.
And it, to be honest, that to me is right. He's just sticking with 3-5-2, whatever you want to call the formation. It never changes. We never drop into a different formation. It's always roughly that, like for like substitution, and I think that's where we fall down.
Right, boys. I sent you a text earlier. I don't know if you've seen it, Steve. But
yes, I've seen it, mate. I've seen it. I was reading it while I was having my McDelivery.
I like it.
I haven't had a McDelivery, by the way. I went out for my dinner, so
I do like Oh My God, though. Top.
Oh my God! Let's talk about Shane.
Yeah. We've got an Oh My God.
He might be a Sheffield Wednesday fan. Shane's a Sheffield Wednesday fan. Don't hold that against him. top quality fish and chip shop. Other fish chip shops are available, obviously, but it's outside at Gober Tap. So you go in, you order your fish and chips, go and have a pint.
So
boom,
last week was have a beer in the Gober Tap and then have this Luigi's kebab. But this time it's a pint and then off to oh my god.
Oh my
Can't
god!
wait for next week's.
He doesn't open Saturdays and Sunday nights, you see. During week, he opens at night, but on a Saturday and a Sunday, it's all, well, Sunday he doesn't open. Saturday is only lunchtime. Can't do that lunchtime drinking, else has to be asleep in bed. And I'll have to kill me.
Opportunities are available. Just DM us.
Well, yeah, that's you got. But yeah, you know,
so
go up tap for a drink first. Then into oh my god, see Shane, and he's doing Cadbury's cream eggs, deep fried Cadbury's cream eggs.
Wow.
Who knows what it's all about?
Stop talking alcohol and food. We get every week.
That's all we ever talk about. What are you on about?
And
so we know.
In my day job, I was like working a lot with pupils at school, and quite a few do football games like Football Manager, FIFA, and a lot of those shoot 'em up games. And when you die in some of those games, you can respawn. So you come back to life on a different part of the map, and you continue like nothing happened. That made me think: if you could respawn Barnsley FC at any moment in time, when would you? For what reason? And what would you change? So this can be a match, this can be a season, it can be a player signing, it can be anything you want, but you can respawn. I'll go first to give you a chance to think. I don't know if you've written it down.
So have mine. If you go first, you can't have mine.
Right.
Because I've actually been sensible about this, which makes a change.
What?
I know. I can't believe it either, mate. World's gone mad. Go on, then, Carlo.
Mine is I would go back to the start of the 2021-2022 season. Shop was appointed manager until November, then Asbaghi until April, and then obviously it was Martin Devaney. We had players such as Woodrow, Morris, Cole, Kitchen, Halleck, Anderson, Styles, Britton. We finished bottom of the table and we were relegated with Peter and Derby. It's, for me, one of the worst seasons with two hapless managers that killed player confidence and creativity. Typical example of two of the poorest appointments I can remember. So I would go back. I would not appoint Shop. Don't ask me who I could appoint. I can't remember who was available at the time. But I thought that also signalled the end of that sort of, especially after Asbaghi, that European coaches. I thought that season is, if you look at some of these players and how they are performing, if you look at Liam Kitchen, he was very much third rank, wasn't he? Everybody talked about Anderson.
Julianne Key likes him, doesn't she?
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
she managed to send him a congratulations tweet yesterday.
She did.
Oh, amazing.
Look at Morris. Look at Morris, how he's doing. Woodrow, I mean, Halleck, Anderson style. To me, that's one of the worst. And that's appointment. That whether that's stats driven, purse driven, whatever, that killed us that season. Absolutely shocking. Lots of those players then left, of course, as well. And that's when we found ourselves in the hole that we're trying to get out of now. So I would respawn back to the day before they made that announcement, shake them up a little bit. Because let's be honest, they could put us three in charge, and I reckon we could have done better than Marcus Shop or Poyer Asbaghi.
I think Steve's training methods of go to the pub and then an Indian after would have absolutely worked.
Think at morale. Players would have had.
Absolutely. Did they gone over hot coals for you, Steve?
Oh, 10 Bensons at half time. It would have been fantastic. They'd all been. We wouldn't have gone to the changing room. We'd have just huddled in corner
back at West Ham like that.
Back at West Ham. Come on, Amel. Put the fag out, lad. Come on.
Right, beautiful. Ian, respawning. Where would you go back to? What would you change and why?
I would go back to just before Chen Lee and Paul Conway and the rest of the toe rags took over, because I think this board is still trying to shake off what the damage they did. We've still got this charge over us from dating back to when they were in charge that we don't know what the result of that's going to be. We've had this yo-yo of promotion relegation because of them. Exactly. They were the ones who got Shop and Asbaghi. And Paul Conway wanted to take the club out of South Yorkshire and touted other clubs that we were going to play elsewhere. The relationship with the council over the ground got to the worst it's probably ever been. And I just think this board is still trying to shake off that. And I think the relationship between the fans and the club have fractured that much because of those taking over. So I would like to have paused and stopped that takeover and hopefully have got somebody else in who was a bit more football savvy and made some better decisions.
I like it. I like it. Steve, talk to us, Goose.
I'm going to be really serious now. As I said, not like it for me. However, totally agree with pair of you. If I'm respawning, I would like to respawn Patrick Crine, because that was a chap who I think had Barnsley in his blood, in his heart, in his mind, and to have somebody like that continue to take the club forward as he was doing before Chenley and all them, like you say, self-pleasurers. See, 18 plus, we're all right.
Self-pleasure.
Self-pleasurers.
Call them charlatans.
Charlatans, all right. And I think that's what a club, especially like Barnsley, needs somebody at the helm who is a football person, definitely, has got very, very, very deep pockets, which is always a bonus. But is part of the community, he's part of the Barnsley, part of South Yorkshire, and he's got that in him. So for me, that's my respawn. Respawn Patrick Crine.
I have to be honest. I believe it would have been his birthday today. If I checked Twitter today, I'm sure they put on about. I can't remember what year. I'll tell you about it. It was 2016. 2016, the season we did so well. The Redacted Report was at We Are Barnsley Radio, which was available to anybody, internet radio, and we had him in the studio for 2 hours. And I'd messaged before with his wife saying, "Do I need to bring anything or whatever?" And all he wanted was cans of Pepsi Max. That's all he drank. And we had him for 2 hours. He answered any question you wanted. He was so open and honest. It was like talking to a fan, because the club meant something to. It wasn't. Of course, there was investment, and he wanted a return, but it felt like talking to a fan. And as nice Julian might be, and everybody else, and it just feels that at times that it is maybe genuine enthusiasm, but it doesn't come from here, does it? Because they don't feel what we feel about our club for all different reasons. No. Patrick did. And I think as owners come, I don't think you can have any better, can you? So, I mean, there's no winners or losers, but yeah, I like that one, Steve. I'll be honest with you. I mean, it's not often.
Hey, look at me.
Yeah, normally you're the funny one, but today you're the
serious one. Serious today.
I know, serious face. No, I like it. Boys, next week, no fixture.
Oh, what shall we talk about? Let's talk about
Well,
food,
beer, beautiful. Yeah. We'll have a bit. We could do a beer review. Our three favourite beers, and you've got to drink them all while we're on. Yes.
Yeah.
We could do if we record on Sunday. So I'm travelling to my home country on Saturday.
3 hours into the podcast, and we're drunk as lords.
But yeah, we'll arrange something. So Barnsley are back in action on Good Friday, Bank Holiday Friday, against Cambridge. 3 o'clock kickoff in the afternoon. And that's when it starts, isn't it? After that, 8 matches left, I believe, for Barnsley to either make an assault on
finals.
Sorry?
Yeah.
8 cup finals.
Yeah. But it is, isn't it? And don't get me wrong, I think they always are when you're in a position like we are. Yeah. The World Cup finals.
Business end of the season.
The worry is that normally, and we said it last season and whatever, we've always come up from January, hit form, on the Duff, we've hit form, and we kept going on the Villiers and Ismail, kept going, and we arrived into the playoffs in form. It just feels like we're the stagnant sort of club in there now, because Peterborough is still getting good results. Bolton are there, and I just worry. Oxford, I just worry that anybody looks at us, and it just feels that we are probably one of the easier teams to prepare against. And
I think as luck's run out, if I were being honest, I think as luck's run out. We have been very lucky this season, considering football we played.
I think the perception, though, outside is that actually that we're one of the stronger ones, because I chat with some of the lads at work who follow like Bolton and a few and Blackpool and they all keep saying, when I'm like moaning and groaning about like the style of football, I think, oh, we're not going to go up, blah blah blah. They're like, Yeah, but you're in a great place. And, oh, it's a tough place to go. And I think the perception, obviously, they don't see us playing every week.
Yeah.
But they don't want to play us. But I think that, like you say, we could get found out. People think, oh, don't want to go well in the second leg, or that's going to be a tough two-legged after what we did last season and everything. I just think we could get really caught out because I don't have that. I'm quite concerned that of all the teams in that top six, that we're probably one of the weaker ones at the minute on form.
Yeah. But there is still time to turn that around before we get there.
Oh yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I loved our day at Wembley last year, but I just felt last year we were probably in the best place to try and get a result, and we know how that one ended up, and that was unlucky with 10 men especially.
I really don't want to go to Wembley. I really don't want to go to Wembley. Unless I'm going to win, I'm not going. Is that Mardy? I'm not going if I'm not winning.
Yeah. And I don't want them crap tunes on the coach again.
Well, no.
What do you mean? They were crackers then. They were dance floor busters then.
Art 80s all the way.
80s at its finest.
Art 80s all the way, boys. Listen, enjoy. What are you going to do, by the way, on Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock with no football? Steve, what are you going to be doing?
Next Saturday...
We'll be eating fish and chips and down pub.
Are you going to Oh My Cod on Puggy Road or whatever it is these days?
Well, I might go. I don't know. I might have a Saturday lunch, fish and chips. You don't know. Do you know what? I've no plan for next week. To be quite honest, I've not even. I mean, it's weather, isn't it? Let's see what's weather. I'd love to be able to hit a ball, but I haven't hit a ball for above a month because as soon as everything's just piss wet through, which is really disappointing.
Yeah. Your plans, Ian, in the absence of...
I need to keep it quiet that there's no game because otherwise the missus will give me a load of jobs to do on Saturday afternoon.
Oh, I'll gear a bell. You need to go to Trafford Centre, some shopping. Bit of shopping in Trafford Centre, beautiful.
We'll message back some people saying, don't forget, he's got a weekend off next week. Boys, as always, thank you very much. Let's hope we can restart the season almost at the business end, isn't it? When we come back on Good Friday with rejuvenated enthusiasm and intelligence, and more than anything, results. You've been listening to the Reds Report. We'll be back likely in a couple of weeks' time. Until then, thanks for listening.